If you clicked on this video, I'm guessing you're still on the hunt for that perfect watercolor journal. And guess what? So am I. Hey everyone, I'm Emily, and on this channel we dive deep into watercolor tutorials, product reviews, and all things painting related. So if that sounds good to you, go ahead and hit that subscribe button. I post new videos every week to help you on your creative journey. Now, a while ago, I bought and tested 20 different cotton watercolor journals from Amazon, and I was blown away by the response. You all had questions, suggestions, and also some very strong opinions about your own favorite sketchbooks. These are all cotton or mostly cotton watercolor journals, and today I'm going to take you through every single one, from the most affordable and basic to the beautifully extravagant. I spent over $300 on this haul, so you don't have to, and as always, I'll be sharing honest reviews based on how the journals actually perform by doing full paintings in each one. Now, if you're wondering why I focus on cotton watercolor journals specifically, it's simple. Cotton performs better. It absorbs water more evenly, handles multiple layers, and just gives you a much better painting experience, especially if you're doing wet on wet or layering techniques. Now, as we go through these, ask yourself, what's most important to me in a journal? Do I prioritize price or paper quality? Do I want something compact or travel ready? Or am I looking for a beautiful keepsake I can be proud of? We'll look at all of these factors, plus binding, paperweight, texture, and value. Okay, let's jump into these journals. I'll go in order from least to most expensive, and at the end I'll share my favorites, including the most surprising win and the biggest disappointment. So stick around, some of these journals are shockingly good for the price. Up first is actually not a journal, but it's a watercolor pad by a brand called Prudiut. It's a 30-sheet watercolor paper pad, size A5, roughly 8 by 6 inches, cold pressed watercolor paper, 140 pound or 300 GSM, and it claims to be 100% cotton. The reason I'm putting this one in here is because it is so affordable. At $6.99 for 30 sheets for 100% cotton paper, that almost seems too good to be true. Now, it does get 4.6 stars with over 300 reviews, so that's pretty good. Overall, the paper seems to be pretty thick and durable, excellent value for the price. It's a nice travel size, great for studies or plein air painting. I did this little rose painting using just 3 colors and all of my usual techniques, including testing tape and masking fluid with it. And the paper handled all of those things really well. It did not rip or tear when I removed the tape. The paper handled masking fluid just fine. I was able to remove it gently without it pulling or ripping. And when I used multiple layers of wet on wet, to me, the paper seemed pretty responsive. Now, I wasn't a huge fan of this texture, and I couldn't even exactly tell you why. I'm used to working on Fabriano Artistico or Arrtx 100% cotton paper, and this was similar, but just a little different. And I'm not exactly sure. I can't explain why it was exactly different. When I looked at some of the reviews for this paper, particularly the negative reviews, some reviewers said that the sizing seems off, which of course could cause some uneven washes, or it could cause the water and paint to not completely soak into the surface. And for some reviewers, they did say that the water seems to sit on the surface instead of absorbing, and others were also just not a huge fan of the texture. So would I buy it again? Honestly, probably not. I have used quite a few sheets for swatches and for studies, but if you're looking for something that's super budget friendly and you're wanting to just get started with watercolors maybe, I think this is a great place to start. Number 2 is the Paul Rubens Cold Pressed Watercolor Journal, which is 50% cotton. Now, I know I stressed the importance of 100% cotton paper, but I really like Paul Rubens' brand, and I've already reviewed a couple of their journals and have bought them multiple times because I like them so much. So I thought, okay, why not? Let's try the 50% cotton. It is 140 pounds also, 20 sheets, only 5.2 by 3.8 inches, so really tiny. I was really attracted to the cover as well. I thought it was really cute. This one gets 4.4 stars with over 200 views, and it comes in both black and pink, which is really fun. For just $8.99, this price is almost unbeatable. I tested it with a little 2-color painting using just ultramarine and burnt sienna, one of my favorite color combos. And for a paper that's not 100% cotton, I thought it did great. Now, when you're working with small paper like this, you're not going to be using tons of washes and tons of layers. Something small like this is great for little studies, for field sketching, and for minimal washes. Some pros with this journal are the fantastic price, the thick paper, the cold pressed texture. It's so cute. The cover has that elastic band to keep the pages together. Travel size, you can slip it into a purse, and it's great for studies or plein air. Surprisingly great performance for only 50% cotton paper, better than even some of the 100% cotton journals that I've already tried. And there are perforated pages for easy removal. Now, some of the cons of this journal, and these are kind of a big deal, is that there were issues with the glue binding, and this is something that other reviewers pointed out as well. Some of the pages stick together just past the perforated area, and you can't pull them apart without ripping the pages. So there is the potential that the cover will just completely fall apart if you try to force the book open. So I do love the idea of this journal. However, I agree with other reviewers that because the pages stick together so bad, it makes it awkward to use, and I probably won't be reaching for it very often. Number 3, for just $11.99, is the Melios Cotton Cold Press Watercolor Sketchbook Journal. It's 8.5 by 5.5 inches. 300 GSM, 26 sheets, or 52 pages if you're painting both sides. This one gets 4.6 stars with 86 reviews. It is made in China. Some pros are that it has a nice secure elastic loop and a paper pocket. I have actually never used the paper pockets in any of the journals I've ever bought, but it's there if you need it. Has these lay flat perforated pages, dual texture pages, and a nice durable hard fabric cover. Now I tested out this paper with a raccoon painting, and I used lots and lots of wet layers and washes, lots of my favorite techniques, including wet on wet, wet on dry. And unfortunately, when I tried tape with the paper, it does rip. So for cotton paper, I found that this quality was just not that good. Some reviewers really did not like the dual texture pages, which on the website, they claim that that's a pro, but I'm kind of with them. I really prefer when the paper texture is consistent on both sides, especially if you want to be able to do panoramic sketches using both sides of the page. The cover does feel like it will get dirty really easily. However, I do think the cover is quite nice. It's cute and the quality is pretty good. The paper does dry too fast, and so many reviewers were questioning whether it is even 100% cotton. So one 2-star reviewer said they just didn't like the smooth on one side, rough side on the other, and another complained that the paper quality isn't good. It can't use tape and the water dries too fast. So I was also really frustrated with this one. Even for the price, I definitely won't be buying this one again. Up next, this one is another one that's not 100% cotton, but I was really curious about it because I love this brand. It's the Hahnemuhle Bamboo Mixed Media Travel Journal. It is actually 90% bamboo fiber and 10% cotton rag, so it is all natural fibers, which is attractive. I have done prints on bamboo paper before and really liked that quality, so I thought I would give it a try. It gets 4.4 stars out of 60 reviews, which is pretty good for a non-cotton paper. It has 15 sheets and is a premium matte paper. It's sized 5.97 by 9.84 inches, and the color is a natural white. This is one of the few journals I'm reviewing that is a hot press surface, which is a just slightly smoother surface than the cold pressed, and mostly good reviews. People were surprised by how well the bamboo paper performs. I did a little beach sunrise scene with this, so I got to see how it does with tape, also with drying it with a hair dryer and using all my usual wet on wet techniques, and it performed really well. Because it is a slightly thinner paper, it's only 265 GSM. I was worried about warping and buckling, but it performed just as well as any of my other student grade cotton watercolor papers. So that one was a nice surprise. This next one is also just 30% cotton, but again, it got really good reviews, so I was curious. This one is called the Watercolor Sketchbook 5 by 5 inch portable square cloth cover notebook, 20 sheets, 300 GSM art paper. There's not really a brand for this one, so it's another one of those that's made in China, but it gets 4.7 stars with over 200 reviews. Unlike the Melios watercolor journal, this one has consistent texture throughout. It's a cold press texture. I paid $9.99 for this journal, but it's currently a little more than that. Prices are kind of going up everywhere, so if you want to grab some good journals for a good price, now is the time. I did this little robin painting in the journal, and I actually was so happy with how the paper performed. Again, just considering it's not 100% cotton, there's always that chance that it's going to warp and buckle a lot, that the paper might rip, but it passed the tape test and it handled my washes beautifully. Granted, I only did one wash in the background. I didn't do a ton of layering, but the little bit of layering and wet that I did, it performed really nicely. Now, on another page, I did do a feather from Life in the same journal, and I was a little bit more frustrated with how this one turned out, probably just because my painting didn't turn out as well. So I'm not going to blame the paper for that. But some reviewers did dislike that it's only 30% cotton, and some said that the binding comes undone. But overall, really good reviews for this little journal. I think this feather cover isn't being sold anymore, but there are so many other cute designs like these poppies and some of these other ones. So overall, a really good buy. Next is the Arrtx Watercolor Sketchbook. This one is 100% cotton, acid-free, with 140 pound or 300 GSM pages. This is another hot press journal. I tend to prefer cold press, but I like to play with hot press once in a while for smaller paintings. It's 20 sheets, 5.35 by 3.86 inches, so really tiny. I was attracted to the cute cover on this one as well. And there's something about a hardcover sketchbook that's really tiny that just fits into your purse. It's so cute. This one gets 4.5 stars with just 34 reviews and is $12.99. Now, it is 100% cotton, and I really think the binding is quite nice. I think it'll last a long time because the binding is sewn rather than glued. That usually is a good sign of quality. I prefer that any day over a glue-bound book. Overall, this one gets great reviews for the paper quality. One reviewer did say that the sticker on the back was impossible to remove without residue, and I actually also had this issue. So that's kind of a bummer. Like if you're going to make a cute little journal like this, make sure that the glue you put on your stickers is not so intense that you can't remove it. I thought this was hilarious. There's a 2-star review that just says, "So small." The sizes are written on the listing, people. Just read. 2 other 3-star reviewers also complain about the sticker on the back, so that seems to be kind of the common issue with this. And you can't really use Goo Gone on it because it is sort of a fabric texture, so that is a bummer. But aside from that, I actually really loved this one. For my little Easter chick that I did, there is a full tutorial on this project, by the way. The colors showed up really vibrant. I think for the hot press paper, pen and wash is such an awesome technique for this, so I'll definitely be reaching for this journal again. Number 7 is the Elan watercolor book, size A4. This is Italian 100% cotton watercolor paper, 15 sheets, 300 GSM. It was $15.95, and it also comes in size 6 by 8 inches as well. So a couple size choices for you. It gets 4.3 stars with 442 reviews. So lots of people have been purchasing this one and enjoying it. It's made in Malaysia, and the paper itself is actually crafted in Italy. So when I saw that, I was like, oh, this has got to be really good paper, right? Well, unfortunately, some of the reviewers question if it really is 100% cotton. Even though it says it's 100% cotton, we don't always know. Some people complain that the sizing is kind of off. It doesn't absorb the color like cotton should. But overall, people really like the spiral bound design with perforated edges. The size is really good. And for practice or studies, I think it is a really good paper. I did a horse head painting in mine, and I actually really didn't mind the paper at all. I could tell it's not quite as nice as Arrtx or Fabriano Artistico. It was close. I actually did enjoy this paper. It held up to the tape test with no ripping or tearing and handled all the washes pretty well. So I actually liked this one. I do think there are better deals out there for $16 for a watercolor journal that, isn't amazing quality. I probably won't buy this one again, but I didn't hate it. Now this next one I actually really like. This one is called the Lightwish Square Watercolor Journal, 100% cotton, 300 GSM or 140 pound acid-free, 24 sheets, cold pressed watercolor journal, and it is only 4.7 by 4.7 inches square. It gets 4.7 stars with over 300 reviews. I paid $13.99 for it, but that price is starting to go up again because these are made in China and prices fluctuate all the time, especially on Amazon. So keep that in mind. Now, this little journal really surprised me. I didn't really expect much from it. And there are so many other brands out there that are almost identical to this one. Honestly, they're probably all made in the same place and just branded under different names. Brands like Lightwish, Funta, Maimoufin, Melios, V & Rose, Tumuarta, Art. I could go on. There are so many, but I actually liked this one so much that I've bought it a second time, and I'm going to give you a little tour through this journal. I have been using it for not only watercolor studies, but also for my Bic colored pens when I travel. I love this size for slipping into my purse with just a few colored pens, and I'll do sketches when I'm on the airplane or just sitting in a nice cafe somewhere and looking out the window. I think it's just the perfect size, and the paper quality is excellent. I can't complain at all about that. The binding is really good. It's sewn and it doesn't stick together. It lays flat pretty well. I like that there's an elastic band for keeping it together. So overall, this one is amazing. I really love it, and I will definitely be buying more of these. One-star review did complain that the binding cracked and that the pages are 2 different textures. However, I did not find that to be the case with mine. Another reviewer just said, it's a nice little sketchbook to tuck into my purse. Overall, I think a really solid journal. Up next is the Maimoufin, I don't know if I'm saying that right, watercolor journal, 100% cotton watercolor paper. This one is 7.6 inches by 7.6 inches square, 20 sheets or 40 pages if you work on both sides. It is 140 pounds or 300 GSM, cold pressed, and a hardcover. We have loose leaf, thick watercolor pages inside of a binder, basically. So it gets 4.7 stars with 121 reviews. $16.89 is what I paid for this. And most of the reviews for this are absolutely glowing. There were actually no 1 or 2 star reviews. Everything was 3 stars or higher, which is saying quite a lot. If you head over to my real-time tutorials on my channel, there is a full tutorial on this yellow budgie that if you want to follow along and paint right with me. And overall, I loved this paper. I have no complaints at all about it. It was just a really lovely experience. I felt like it was the same quality as my Arrtx paper or my Fabriano Artistico. And like I said, I don't have any negative reviews. The cover's not that pretty. I would have preferred if it was just kind of a simple fabric cover, maybe without all the branding on the front. So that's my really only complaint. And a couple of reviewers said that they were disappointed because no refills are available, because it has kind of this awkward 6-hole punch in it. It's a little bit difficult to replace the pages yourself, would require some work. But that said, you could just cut your own paper down to size and punch holes to refill the binder if that's something you wanted to do. Up next is the tumuarta Watercolor Sketchbook. This one is 7.5 by 5 inches, 140 pound or 300 GSM, 100% cotton, cold pressed. It has 24 sheets or 48 pages, and it's a nice vertical format for travel. This one gets 4.6 stars, 161 reviews so far, and it does come in 3 different sizes. I paid $17.99 for my journal, and I tested it with this painting of candles. Now, when you're doing like a nighttime scene with lots of glowing features and things, you're going to be using lots of wet washes. I also tested out my masking tape on it. It does have an elastic band to keep it together, and the cover is hardcover. The binding is sewn together, although the hard part of the cover is just glued on the front and the back, and the back doesn't really have any binding. So that's kind of an interesting, unique cover. Some pros with this one are that the paper performs beautifully. I really loved the paper. No complaints at all about using the wet and wet technique. Masking fluid removed really nicely. Performance was great. It can lay flat without feeling like you're going to destroy the book. But that said, there were some complaints about the cheap cover construction. Now, I've only painted on the first page, so I haven't been able to experience yet whether or not it's going to fall apart with lots of use. But at first glance, it seems really good, but it seems like some people are running into the issue of the cover just falling apart. So if that's something you'd rather not deal with, then maybe stay away from this one. That said, it is, in my opinion, a better value than some of the cheaper ones. So I'll leave that up to you to decide. The next 2 journals are about the same price. $20-ish. $19.99 is what I paid for the Lightwish Watercolor Sketchbook. This one is 100% cotton, acid-free, 140 pound cold press watercolor paper, 20 sheets, size 9.25 by 6.3 inches. What is so lovely about this is that it has this beautiful faux leather cover. It gets 4.5 stars with 145 reviews, and it does come in several colors, and you could also get it in hot pressed if you prefer a smoother surface. The paper is sturdy enough to paint on both sides. It has this kind of engraved leather-like cover that's really lovely to touch. And of course, it's a nice size to carry in an art bag. It does lay flat, and I think it's a pretty good value for something that's a little bit more fancy. I purchased this one in the cold press because that's what I use the most, and this dark brown leaf pattern is so lovely. I love the leather strap that keeps it together. Like the Maimoufin watercolor journal, this one is a spiral binding with 6 holes. So similar construction that way. You can remove the papers or keep them in as a journal altogether. It's up to you. I did this little horse painting using just 3 colors, and overall I was very happy with how this paper performed. When you're working on a painting and you feel like maybe the paper is getting in the way, that can be a real problem, but I didn't experience that with this. I just enjoyed the process and really enjoyed the paper. So overall, really liked this one. This next journal is probably made by the same company. It's the Jarowslly Watercolor Sketchbook, also a faux leather. It's 9.06 by 6.69 inches, 140 pound, 24 sheets. So it has a few more sheets than that last one. 100% cotton watercolor paper. You can get this one in 3 colors, blue, gray, or brown. I purchased it in gray. It gets 4.5 stars with 33 reviews. I paid $19.99 for it, so the same price as the last one. There's a really nice elastic band that attaches at the back, and I really think that's a neat feature. It's a little easier to open and close than the leather strap on that last one. Some pros of this journal are that the paper is a great quality. Once again, I enjoyed the process of painting these swans inside of my watercolor journal. Handled wet on wet really well. I didn't test masking fluid or tape with this journal, but I think that after having painted on it, it would handle it just fine. One 4-star reviewer said the cover design needs some professional tweaking. The embossed image is too busy and can be improved by removing the image of the person and easel, but most glaringly, the unnecessary title on the cover is too close to the edge of the cover. And if you're a graphic designer, I would have to agree with that. That's kind of a poor placement on their part. One 2-star review said the major disappointment is the paper quality. So there are some mixed reviews about the quality of the paper. Although I didn't experience that same disappointment in the paper quality, the nice thing about this is that you could replace it if you wanted to. That said, that would probably be a lot more work than it's worth. So again, that's up to you, but I thought it was a really nice experience and I enjoyed painting in it. This next journal is the Etchr Watercolor Sketchbook Accordian Journal. It's 4 by 6 inches, 100% cotton, cold pressed watercolor paper. Gets 4.5 stars out of 18 reviews, and I paid $20.76 for it. So we're starting to reach a little bit higher tier as far as quality and brand. Etchr is known as a really quality watercolor brand, and I was just curious to try this accordion style. It is so small for the same price as these other 2 larger journals, but I thought I would give it a try. So to test it out, I did this painting of orchid flowers using 2 of the spreads. I was very satisfied with the paper. It was beautiful quality. As expected for Etchr paper, it handled wet and wet very well. Overall glowing reviews for this one. The accordion format makes it really fun if you wanted to do cityscapes or landscapes or do any kind of storytelling panoramic style of paintings. So something fun for you to think about if you are traveling and you really want to capture like a whole variety of things. I think this would really be a great journal to take with you, and you can use both sides. One 1-star review does say, "My sketchbook came pre-drawn in." Well, there's what looks like to be a crayon drawn on the pages, but okay. I definitely need to give this one some more attention and do some more paintings in it before I decide if I love it or not. But my first impression is that it's a great little journal. The next one is another Etchr watercolor journal. It's a size A5 portrait sketchbook, cold press mixed media, hardcover book, 5.8 by 8.3 inches, has 52 pages, and a customizable cover. Now, I reviewed one similar to this in my last video, and I actually did customize the cover. The major complaints with this particular sketchbook is actually that white cover. Reviewers are like, why is it white? It's going to get so dirty. And I think the whole point is that it's a blank canvas for you to do whatever you want with. So if you're willing to embrace that and have some fun with the cover and make it your own, I think it's awesome. Now, at the time that I bought this, it was $28.49, which is already on the higher end, but now that price has skyrocketed to close to $50. So these are not cheap journals. It does get 4.4 stars, 49 reviews. And again, because it's Etchr, it's high quality paper, you know that the binding is going to be really good and hold up well. What I enjoy about this one is that unlike some of the cheaper watercolor journals, it does actually lay flat when you're working in it. I painted this autumn scene with trees and I used masking fluid and tape, and of course the paper held up really well with all of those techniques. You can see the full-length version of this tutorial over on Watercolor Mastery. Some cons with this journal are that it's definitely overpriced in my opinion, and as other reviewers mentioned, the cover gets dirty. So if you're not interested in customizing it, this is probably not the journal for you. Another 4-star review said, "It's an excellent sketchbook. It can be painted on both sides of the sheet. The only thing is that the first and last sheets are glued together and do not open completely, making them unpaintable." So there is also that to consider. But overall, I love Etchr's products and I'm definitely going to be buying more. And last but not least is this pink knitted cover watercolor journal. This looks like something straight out of Legally Blonde, so I had to have it. Now this one is not available anymore. It was $76.66, so by far the most expensive journal I bought in this haul. But it is 60 sheets, so it's the largest journal as far as it has the most paper, 100% cotton paper. And it's handmade. You can definitely tell that it's all hand bound, hand sewn, hand knitted, and the paper is surprisingly excellent. I tested it out by painting this prickly pear inside the first page, and it was a joy to paint on. I actually really enjoyed it. Now, even though the seller does not have this one available anymore, they actually have some other really weird and interesting and unique watercolor journals on their page on Amazon. It does look like it's just a Chinese seller kind of hawking all kinds of random goods, but if any of you are interested in seeing me review this seashell watercolor journal, let me know, because I think it's kind of fascinating. Okay, after testing all 15 of these, here are a few standouts. Most giftable. These two faux leather cover journals would make great gifts. They're classy, they're well made, and actually decent paper. Best for daily practice? The Maimoufin journal. I'll definitely keep this one in my rotation. Biggest surprise? These square fabric cover journals. I had zero expectations, but these blew me away. In fact, this is the one I'm keep sticking in my purse and taking with me everywhere. I've already bought a second one. Most disappointing. Sadly, the Honey Melios journal got really good reviews. The cover is cute, but I kind of hated this one. The tape ripped it so easily, which is a huge no for me, and it just couldn't handle multiple layers wet on wet. It ended up looking really patchy and splotchy. For the best overall quality, I'd have to go with Etchr. I've used these journals for many years, and the paper is just amazing. The books stay flat, and I love the customizable cover option. I believe Etchr is also coming out with the perfect sketchbook with Arrtx watercolor paper, so stay tuned for that. Now, if you've used any of these journals yourself, let me know in the comments. I'd love to hear your thoughts, or if there's a hidden gem I missed, tell me, and maybe I'll do a part 3. And if you want to follow along with the paintings I did in each journal, full tutorials are coming to my Watercolor Mastery membership. I'll link that down below if you want to join us. Thanks for watching, and I'll see you in the next video.